Okay, this is a good podcast. I sit down with Georgia and Sandy's daughter, Kylie, and we talk about, oh my God, like everything. I don't even know how many topics we talked about. My intention was to have them talk about being older siblings, which we eventually get to. But I mean, we talked about, I don't even know what we talked about. It's so much. It's really cool to sit down with two teenagers and have a really good conversation. So I hope you enjoy this. Georgia's 16, Kylie is 15. And so if you have 16, 15, 14-year-old girls, this might be a good podcast for you. Thanks for coming back every week. Thanks for your emails. Like I said, I read every single one. I may not be able to answer them, but I do read them. Thanks for the book club book suggestions. I love those. I've put them in a list, so I will never be stumped again. Hope you enjoy this episode. Please share it if you do. I'm sure you know somebody who has a teenager who could use the conversation. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Kylie and Georgia. What do you think about this group of adults, the campers? What do you guys think about those camper adults?
They're interesting.
It's a spiritual experience every time we go.
Why?
No, they're just like, they all kind of match each other's personalities, you know, and they all kind of like feed off each other and like, but they're all so different, but also similar. You guys bond over one thing. I don't even know what it is, but you guys all have this like connection. But you guys are all so different, you know? Yeah. You and my mom are pretty alike.
You think so?
Yeah. You work well together, you and Sandy.
Like you guys are like alike, but different. Like you differ from my mom so much. You like love fishing. Like you're always on a, like you always like have to move, you know? Mm-hmm. And my mom, I guess she's like that, but she like, I don't know. She's not really like that. She's still, I think you guys both know how to like work hard and like accomplish your goals, you know?
That's interesting that you think we're similar. I think that Sandy and I have very similar values.
Yeah.
Right? Our values line up a lot. I mean, not exactly, but a lot. I think we have very similar values and we both move at a similar pace. I know when we went to London with Lynn and Kathy, Sandy and I moved faster than Lynn and Kathy.
Yeah.
Not that one's better than the other. They were just different, you know?
Yeah.
No, because we'll be on a trip and like you and Sandy will be like awake and have done like 30 different things.
Yeah.
And Kylie and I are like in bed.
Yeah.
And you're like, guys, come on, we have an itinerary. And we're like, oh my God, calm down.
No,
every single trip.
You and my dad are the most alike.
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. I think you and my dad and then Bert and my mom.
And then you guys like married each other and then like you and Sandy are married. Like I could honestly, if like Dad and Tom were completely out of the picture, I could see you guys getting married.
That's what we all talk about.
Yeah, that's what we talk about. Because we were in the screening room and I go out and I see you guys stretching in the other room. I'm like, these two are a married couple. I swear to God.
Why were you guys stretching?
Who, me?
No, because I walked out. We were watching It, and I walked out and it was silent outside, and I was like.
We were stretching.
I was
like,
Why?
We're sore because we work out and we're sore. We like go hard in the paint when we work out. You've worked out with us. It's really hard.
Yeah.
My mom told me that you were sore after the workout
Lacey?
that we did. Yeah.
You know why? Because I did 20-pound weights.
Yeah, you did the hardest pound.
I did the hardest. I forgot that. And I called Sandy. I was like, I am barely walking. And she goes, it's because you did the big weights. And I went, oh yeah. Totally forgot.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. It is interesting. Sandy and I talk about that quite a bit, how Sandy and I are very close, and I'm very similar to Tom. And Bert and Sandy are really close, and Bert and Sandy are alike. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm pretty close to Tom, and Tom and I are alike. Yeah. It's really interesting how we found these four people who are so similar to each other's spouse. It's really kind of, it's been a great gift to me.
Yeah.
You're not just your parents, but your sister and you and the campers have been just a huge gift because we have an urban family.
Yeah.
Really?
It's kind of funny too, because I'll go over to your house where like you and Dad aren't there, and I'll like be with Tom and Sandy, and I feel like I'm with you and Dad, just because like it's because Sandy is so much like Dad. She'll like, we'll be talking about something completely different, and she'll just go, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we have to like fill her in. Like she's like, like we have to fill in the story, and then she'll just like tune out and go do something else. And then she comes back, she goes, what?
But something I picked up is that Bert and my dad are also weirdly similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though they're so different, you know?
I agree.
Like I
Like, they
there's,
have similar
little
values,
hints
too.
in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like at first I was like, no, they're nothing alike, you know? But then you start hanging out with them more and seeing them together,
Yeah.
and then they agree on stuff. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's happening here?
It's that value system again. Very
Yeah.
similar value system. And I think both those men are very good at their job
Yeah.
and are high achieving and have really reached a level of success that not very many people in their fields have reached.
Yeah.
And I think, and they have no ego. And there's no relation between the two jobs. I mean, Tom's job has nothing to do with Bert's job, even though they're both in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the reverse is true. So I think they have a mutual respect for each other because they're so very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it is cool to see a person like your dad and like Bert become this high achieving person that they set out to be and still be the guy that boils crawfish on Memorial Day. And, you know, the guy who just, you know, wants to go outside and throw eggs at an egg toss in the middle of the day. You know, they're just regular guys. They're just
Yeah.
dads and husbands and brothers and just kind of regular guys. And yet at the same time, they have these big, massive jobs and are super important in what they do.
Yeah.
It's really cool to be part of that, you know, to watch them. Because when we first met you, your dad wasn't as far along as he is now, obviously, and neither was Bert.
Yeah.
To have been a part of both of them getting to this place kind of at the same time, you know.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool. And then to have Sandy be my partner in it, the cool thing about me and Sandy is even though Tom's a producer and Bert's a comedian, they're gone a lot.
Yeah. Didn't you guys bond because none of your
Yes.
husbands were home?
That's
Yeah,
right.
because like dad would leave and you'd be like, oh, I have to call my wife.
Yeah.
And then you'd call Sandy and then we'd go over to each other's houses all the time.
No, and then
because,
you and my mom would like go out to like events together.
yes,
Where
and
you
we
had
would
to,
be
you
left at home with a weird babysitter.
that one babysitter who was scared of Stella in London.
That was so funny. And then you guys come back at like 2 a.m. or something random. When
No,
we
and
were
then
just,
Isla
like,
was like scared of like Jack the Ripper.
You know,
Yes, we all had to
I
sleep
wonder
together.
why. Because you took us to the London Dungeon and scared her to
No, we were
death.
all like really scared that night, I feel like.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I had to try and convince Isla that Jack the Ripper was not going to climb up the stairs and come get her. And she would just keep going like, Georgia, like, what if he does? And I was like, he's not.
That girl
he's
has
not
an
alive.
imagination, man.
No, one time Isla actually slept with my dad because you guys were out and my dad just came home earlier and she was so scared and she like woke up my dad. I was like, Tom, I'm really scared. He was like, okay, sleep over here. Right? They slept in the same bed.
That's pretty
which
funny.
is so funny.
Well, he's like her uncle. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the cool thing is at this point, we're like aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
Like almost probably in some ways closer than your real aunts and uncles because, I mean, I don't have an aunt or uncle to offer. Annie and Cotty are close to the girls, but you don't see your Aunt Teresa that much.
Yeah.
Compared to how much you see us or your aunt in San Francisco or your two uncles. You don't see any of them or, I mean, Uncle Al
Yeah.
Uncle Adam.
and Jimmy is and Daniela are awesome, but they're in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So
And Lincoln.
What Georgia does, like sometimes she's like talking to her friends and they're like, who are you with? She's like, oh yeah, my cousins. Like we just like refer to each other as like cousins.
It's also helpful because I'll say like I'm with my cousins and it's like an inexcusable thing to say. So
Yeah.
if I'm like, oh, I'm like, if for instance, like I want to go hang out with campers instead of like go somewhere else, I'm like, oh, I have to go see my cousins. And they're like, oh, you're always with your cousins. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I am
Yeah.
all the time. But I mean, like, it's like that because like Teddy's the only cousin, like actual like first cousin I have.
yeah.
And he's
Well,
a
and
3-year-old.
Lola.
And Lola, but like
She's 8
they're
months old.
they're like babies, so it's
Yeah.
kind of easier. Like I refer to you guys as cousins because
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, you are.
It's the same thing. It's like you see the same group of kids like every week,
Yeah.
and
'cause
we're close.
All of my cousins like live further away. Like you have to go on a plane and visit them, except Lincoln, who's
Yeah.
like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same situation, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Same
it's
situation.
also weird because there are like a lot of parallels between us because like our dads both travel for work and our moms are both stay at home and we both have cousins who are 3 years old and
Yeah.
we both only see like one kind of set of aunts and uncles.
Yeah,
like,
we
that
both
are-
go to like all girls.
We both go to all girls schools.
Mm-hmm.
We both have younger siblings. Like there's like a lot of parallels where you go like, well, now you're kind of family because you like there's so much in common that you can't change.
Well, not just the whole campers, but our two families have vacationed together over
It's
and
so
over
fun.
and over
Yeah,
again. We came to London to visit you when you lived there. You've come to Alabama to visit us when we go to see my dad.
Like went to various trips in Hawaii.
We did a past
several
life regression
Hawaii
and we
trips.
started crying.
We
Cowboy
went to
Dave.
Havasu was an interesting trip. Like Havasu, we've done a lot together.
Yeah, now we're going to Montana. I'm excited.
so
about
excited.
that.
Are you excited?
Yeah, all the activities that we're gonna do. I think I'm kind of scared of like the water rafting. but I
We
feel
can't
like-
do that
Oh
activity.
no, not that one.
No, we're not doing that one. They're not offering it at this time. I wonder if something's going on with the river.
yeah,
Either it's
probably.
too dangerous or it's too dry.
We're going on ATVs though.
Yes.
Yeah, ATVs.
I'm driving.
Stop.
I know, right? Georgia's driving one of them.
Can I drive one or no? Do you,
You
need
have
a
to-
license?
Yes.
Oh,
You have
gosh.
to
But you
driver's
can
license.
drive with me.
Yeah.
There you go. Because I have to drive one and your mom has to drive one.
No,
Who
so
should we
just
put with
alternate.
Sandy?
Isla.
Yeah.
So they can just complain about being
The
hot
two
the whole
same
time.
sames. Yeah. Oh, I'm so scared. Your mom goes slow.
Yeah, but I think what's it called?
You
The
and Lou.
jukebox dance or jitterbug?
Oh, jitterbug.
Jitterbug.
yeah, I
That'll
feel
be
like that would
fun.
be really funny.
I think it would
I feel like
be
the
That's gonna
dance
be
instructor
funny.
will try and like teach us, and then we would just like start laughing like so
Bro,
hard.
I know. It's kind of funny to see like when someone does something like that, like a group activity, like with all the whole campers. It's even more funny. When you like watch us participate in something.
Yeah.
Like just watching us participate in like something where it's like a rule basis, you know, where like you do like steps. It's funny to watch like Steven and Dad or like Steven, Eric and Dad and Tom, like all the dads. And then like all the moms make fun of all the dads. Like the workouts are so funny.
Yeah,
Because
they're
they
so
get
fun.
so competitive.
Yeah, they're so competitive for like
And for
no
what?
reason.
No,
and
there's
they're
no
all
reason.
different body types.
Yeah.
So, but they all try and do the same like goal. You know.
Well,
like,
let's
the
explain
same
what this
way.
is. Okay,
yeah,
we have a
yeah,
trainer
yeah.
that comes every Saturday, and the 4 camper families, there's 4 people in each family, so 16 people total. Not everybody comes every week because people have lacrosse games and whatever. All come and work out with this trainer, and she does, I guess it's kind of CrossFit type training, calisthenics, and kind of CrossFit type stuff.
Yeah, like varies every day.
It does vary
Each week, I mean.
but there's almost always some competition in her workout.
Yeah.
You have to like
she'll-
get in a team of 2 or something like that.
that, or who can hold plank the longest, who can
Who's
row
like,
the
"I'll do it."
farthest in the shortest amount of time. I don't feel like I'm competitive at all, except
Me
with
either.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to beat myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple people in the group.
They like
They be
influence the
competing.
competitive energy.
You
Where
think
you're
so?
like, oh, if these guys are like, you know, and putting this much effort in, I gotta step it up a little bit.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like the dads are like really competitive. I think
They're
they're the
so
most.
macho. It's so annoying. Because they're like, you know, like all of them like are like, oh, I can bench press the most. I'm like, okay, come on.
Yeah, no, they're like,
But Tom doesn't even talk.
Yeah, I know. That's how he's
even talk
competitive.
the whole workout.
Because you can watch him like be competitive in his brain.
No, but
and then
it's-
you have Dad who goes like duh, 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 and then Eric and Steven are like duh. You
Yeah,
know?
but it's funny because there's some dads that work out like every day, but then other dads that just don't. But they
Yeah.
all try and do the best that they can and try and like work as hard as they can.
Yep.
And sometimes they go over the top a little bit, but it's kind of
gets a
funny
little
how to
tense.
see, even if you're like not like actively doing something, they still try their hardest, you know?
They do.
And I think that's kind of funny.
I think everybody does except maybe Isla.
yeah.
Isla does not try. Poor
I think
Isla.
she's insecure. I think she feels really insecure about her physicality. So she kind of goofs stuff.
Yeah.
She'll
Yeah.
goof it so that she doesn't have to feel like she's a failure.
Yeah.
So she'll goof
I don't know
it.
why. Everyone
know
has failed
either.
at least once. I've fallen. You know how many times I've fallen off that
We
tire?
literally did the duck walks.
Yeah, we were doing
duck
bear
walk.
crawls on the floor, and then people were embarrassed. I'm like, how? The other thing I'm confused about is like, how can you get embarrassed with a group of people you see every single week, like
Yeah.
that you call family? Like, I can't imagine getting like that embarrassed.
You know, the interesting thing about this group, you said it before, is that everybody's really different, but they're all somehow the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the true with the kids too. All the kids are very different. I don't know if they're all the same, but all the kids are really different. So it's hard sometimes to allow someone to be who they are, which is maybe shy, maybe insecure, maybe afraid.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of people in the group that feel all three of those things. And it must be, I wonder how they feel to come in to this group of other kids who the physicality comes very easily. They may be more athletic. They may be definitely more self-confident, and how that would feel, even though this is a safe group, so to speak. In the safe group, the nature of being a kid is you want to fit in.
Yeah.
You don't want to stand out. And if you're the person who can't do what the majority of the kids are doing, I think it would make you feel bad.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's not like an irrational thought to have, obviously.
It's not. And at the same time, I'm with you where I go, with these people?
With Sandy?
Why would you feel this way with these people? They've known you since preschool, some of you. And why would you feel that way? But I think that's just kind of how it is when you're a teenager.
Yeah, especially like with teenagers, like amplifies it all. And we've been in this pandemic.
Yeah.
And social media influenced it all.
Yeah.
So I think it really just amplified it. And it's not really talked about a lot, like insecurity and kind of feeling self-conscious in your own skin. But
It's not. And what's really not talked about regarding that is how normal it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally normal to feel insecure. It's totally normal to not know who you are.
Yeah.
It's normal to wear thrift store clothes this month, and next month you're all Brandy Melville. And that's completely normal. But for some kids, it makes them feel really insecure and judged, even if they're not really being judged. It's a perception, right?
I mean, I actually said this to Isla when she was, I don't remember what she was talking about, but it was something about, and I was saying that, like, what I've noticed, like, from high school and just from anything else, is people pay so much more attention to themselves than they do to other people.
Yeah.
Of
So,
course,
like, I am worrying about, like, 30 different things about myself, but, like, thinking that everyone else is going to notice it about me. But in reality, like, no one cares. Everyone else is so worried about what they're wearing or how they did their hair, or, like, how they did their makeup, that they have, like, no time to focus on anything bad you're thinking about.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, like, I just kind of stopped caring because I realized that everyone's in their own head. So, like, there's no point in being in my head about how people are going to think, because they're not thinking about me. They're thinking about themselves. And if they are thinking about me, it's not like I'm being a bad person. I'm going to be Georgia. So if they don't like Georgia, then okay, go ahead. But, like, everyone's in their own head so much that, like, there's no point. Like, there obviously is a point in being, like, self-conscious. But at the end of the day, I think you're going to be okay. You're not going to die.
Yeah,
So you'll be
I
fine.
think your biggest judge is yourself.
Yeah.
And once you start accepting who you really are, I think that's where you see the growth, you know? But right now in this period, a bunch of people are just kind of like, well, we're all teenagers. So we're all trying to figure each other out and, like, trying to be confident in our own skin. And some people take longer than others. Some people still are adults and not comfortable in their own skin. But
That's
I think
okay.
but I think it really just shows when you start loving yourself, you know, and start being confident with your own skin, because you're your biggest judge. No one really cares, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, like, I feel like there's this big thing, like, oh, I need to look good for these people. They honestly don't care what you look like. I feel like those people who are, like, who you're trying to impress are trying to impress themselves, you know? Like, they put on this whole thing, like, oh, I'm so intimidating. But they're just trying to, like, almost, like, be intimidating to themselves. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they feel insecure with themselves, and that's when people start judging other people, is when they have an insecurity in
Yeah.
their own
It's like
selves.
rare
You're very
perfection.
wise, both of you, to feel that way, because I think you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, someone told me a long time ago, at the end of the day, when you put your head on your pillow, the only person you should be worried about is how you feel about yourself. Not from a place of being self-important, not at a disregard of other people's feelings or concerns. You can't be mean to your mom and lay down and go, sucks for her, I'm good with it. But no, to search your heart and say, have I been my best self today? And if the answer is yes, then you can sleep really good. And that includes making mistakes that you can forgive yourself for, or that you can make amends with another person before you go to bed. So I think it takes a very secure person to be able to look at their life and go, ugh, I probably screwed this one up, and I should probably call that person and make it right. Or to see, I'm not feeling great about myself today, but that's okay. That's just where I am today, and not have it be some earth-shattering, life-changing moment. Just a moment where, there's several nights when I go to bed and go, I wish I were thinner. But the truth is I'm 50 and I eat pizza. So what am I supposed to be? I'm not supposed to be super thin, and I'm really happy with myself. So yeah, I think once you put your head on your pillow and you can go to sleep and be good with who you have been in that day, that should be your goal.
The other hard thing with that is, like, especially in COVID, like, teenagers are stuck in their room the whole time, and all they're doing is either going to online classes or where they're looking at themselves in the camera, or going on social media and watching videos of people with, like, get this summer body in 30 seconds.
Get this summer body.
Perfect life.
Yeah,
and you
like,
look at yourself and you're like, wait, why am I not them? So we're constantly, like, comparing ourselves to unrealistic standards.
Even if you don't say that word for word, you're subconsciously thinking it.
Yeah.
Like, you see someone, like, on a hammock in an ocean and you're like, that could be me, but it's not. I'm stuck in my room in COVID. So it's also hard when that's your normal now because you're in COVID, and then you go back to school and you're just, like, thrown into, like, all these other teenagers who have been doing the exact same thing. They're so self-focused, just because of social media. It's not even their own fault. It's because they're constantly surrounded by technology, which is, like, putting this perfect life out that no one, it's, like, unattainable. Yeah. And then you go to school and you're surrounded by kids who all have that in their brain. It's really hard. But as long as you're just secure in who you are and know that, it's fine to be myself. It's okay to be myself. As long as you're okay with that, then it gets easier. And I think that's, like, kind of a hard thing for people to put in their brain after that's what they're surrounded by. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yes. When I wanted to call somebody, I had to pick up a landline and dial the phone and sit and only hear somebody. I don't think we at my generation, or even maybe the generation after me, understands the microscopic way you guys have experienced the world, because you can see things up close and personal any time of the day.
Yeah.
Any person. Most celebrities are intimately accessible from social media, and it is a very different way of growing up. And I could see how you would start to think their life should be my life. Why my life sucks because I'm not on a yacht, the Amalfi Coast. And this teenager is. When that teenager is one in a million kids, it's not real.
Yeah.
And not a lot of kids post maybe they do post their regular life, but
most, like, celebrities, like, don't really post their flaws, I feel like, and influencers. They just show their best life, and that's really harmful because a lot of people don't really want to express their faults, which I think that's really important, because from people, like, looking in at their posts, they're like, why is this person flawless and I have all these flaws, It really has, like, a really negative impact on your mindset.
That's an interesting insight, Kylie.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Do you think Bert posts any of his flaws?
Yeah.
Have you seen any of his large belly?
Yeah.
Yeah. His Instagrams are, like, really unfiltered, I feel like. That's really good. And I think that's why people like him, because they can relate to him,
He's a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are very few people like that online. And it's weird because you see people that, like, post stuff on Instagram and they only post it because it will look good on Instagram, not even because they're having fun. I'm like, why would you do that? Because now you're sending all this false image to all these kids who want this life and think you're having so much fun, and you're just going to a frat house, taking a picture and leaving. Like, what is the point of that?
Yeah,
there's no point.
I've, like, seen videos, people like, it's just like, we're just, like, sitting here, like, okay, and they're like, okay, guys, smile for the camera, and everyone's face lights up.
Right.
It's kind of, like, surreal, like, whoa, like, what happened there? Once a camera is in place, we have to put on this almost, like, mask to show the world that we're having fun.
Right.
When in reality, we're not always having fun.
Yeah.
Everyone has their days where they feel bad about themselves, or it's just bad days, and I feel like social media doesn't really capture that, and that is really harmful to kids.
And if they do capture it, it's in a really dramatic way. Like they'll post about something and it'll be like super dramatic. So it's always an extreme. It's never like, oh, I'm feeling bad today. It's always like, oh, I've been so depressed for months and blah, blah, blah. So they're either having the most fun they ever could be having or they're in the worst part of their life. But there's never like that in between, like, oh, I'm just hanging out with a friend. It's like, oh, I've got this big group of people. We're going to buy a $30 million car and test drive it around Woodland Hills. It's like something like that.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is like, I'm sad, blah, 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 and this is why I'm sad, and posting paragraphs about depression. And I'm like, there's no medium. You're
no
always
in-between.
watching an extreme of their life.
Interesting. I find that is accurate. I think part of the problem with that is, self-regulation is a real thing. And if you're watching people live in extremes, you're not seeing examples of regulation, right?
Yeah.
Of saying, I'll have one glass of wine and that's all I'm going to have because that's all I want. And instead seeing people completely hammered or completely abstaining, it could be very confusing. When I first figured out I was in love with Bert, my mom has been divorced 6 times. And I said to myself, I don't actually know how to be married. So I need to get somebody to help me figure out what that's supposed to look like. Because what I experienced was insane. I'm in love. I can't wait to get married. I get married. You make me mad. I'm getting divorced. There was no self-regulation. There was no working it out. There was no having an argument that didn't end in something falling totally apart. So I had to go learn how to do that, how to be in that space and know that things aren't falling apart. No one's getting a divorce because we have an argument. And I can say I'm unhappy and he's not going to leave because that's what I witnessed. And I wonder what you're talking about is doing to young kids who are just watching extremes and don't understand that the in-between is very healthy. Feeling insecure, some of this, I don't want to get into a debate about gender identity, but I wonder sometimes for some kids if it is that they are feeling uncomfortable in their skin and don't know what to do with that uncomfortable, so they need to make a change or a statement to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling. By no means am I suggesting that's every kid, but I wonder if that happens sometimes, if they're like, because let me tell you something, I dress like a boy until I was probably in 9th grade. Like I wore a t-shirt and jeans and a dress was like, you may as well put a hot poker on me. I hated it. I was a tomboy. And I wonder if I had been that person today, if I would have started going, but am I a boy? Because I never identified as a boy. I always thought I was a girl. But I just wonder if that extreme that you're talking about has any effect on what's happening in probably very few, but in some cases of kids wondering how they identify. And it doesn't matter to me if you identify as a she, her now and a they, them tomorrow, and then you're back as she, her, who cares? But I just wonder if that's a lack of regulation based on what you just explained. Of being able to
maybe. I'm not sure. Like, that's quite a hard question. Like, I feel like people's pronouns, like their gender identity, some people are very, like, it's unchangeable, know?
Totally.
They're very, like, set. These are my pronouns, blah, blah, blah. But other people, they can fluctuate. Like, it really depends on how they're feeling. It's very different for everyone.
Of course it is. I wonder if some of it is that needing an answer. And instead of being able to sit in the uncomfortable. Because I remember being uncomfortable in my own body as a girl. But that way of thinking that this may be that you identify a different gender wasn't really very out there in 1980. That didn't really exist a whole lot in 1980. I mean, so I wonder if I would have, being this big tomboy, said, I'm a he or a they, instead of just being a girl who was uncomfortable until she got comfortable. I don't know. I don't know. It occurs to me from time to Don't get me wrong.
No,
I really believe that all of that is very real. People having gender identity, I don't want to say issues because that's the wrong word, but people talking about and figuring out their gender identity is completely fine. But I do wonder. I wonder if some of it has to do with that intolerance of being just uncomfortable in your own skin.
Yeah. I mean, what you said about like not being comfortable or like, what did you say? You said like sitting in the uncomfortable and being okay with it. I mean, just an iPhone gives you constant access to anything you need. Yeah. So I could Google right now how many people live in China, and I will know the exact number.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to do that like 30 years ago.
No,
that wouldn't
not
be
even
possible.
30 years ago. Like maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
The internet was a different thing than it is
So I think
today.
it's also affected kids now. It's because like they're not okay with not having an answer immediately.
Yes.
Because they're so used to like Googling answers for homework or something like that, or texting a friend to get help on homework, or calling a friend when you want to talk to them right now.
Yeah.
There's no like being forced to wait.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean in a broader, you said it much better than I did.
Yeah, and like
Thanks.
also like TV shows. I think in your time, a new TV show would come out like weekly, right?
Yeah.
It would be released, but now Netflix is here.
Yeah.
And it's just boom, 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 boom. You can
exactly
binge
right.
it, you know?
Yep.
There's no waiting, you know?
No.
And I think people feeling uncomfortable is not only like gender identity, it's like sexuality.
Yep.
It's like, it's also like mental health. It's
yes.
also style. It varies so differently. And I think some people use different things to kind of make them feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. And I think you're right. Everything changes so fast.
Yeah.
Including like style and what's in today, you know, is gone tomorrow like that. And when I was young, it didn't quite work that way. You know, things were in style for a couple years. You could buy a pair of shoes that were fashionable for a few years. And now you buy a pair of shoes and then 6 months later, they're out.
No, literally.
Yeah.
During the summer, I bought a shirt because it was very in, but I ordered it off this website and it came 2 months later and I got it and it was already out of style because things move so rapidly now because social media, you post, it's out like in like 2 seconds, like not even. It's so quick.
Yes. I know I've talked to the girls about this before, you know. The permanence of social media too is not something that we had. You know, if I wanted to text a picture of my boobs to my boyfriend, I couldn't do that. I'd have to find a camera, take my shirt off, take a picture, take the film, I'd take the rest of the roll, take the film to the photo mat, wait 24 hours for it to be developed, and then I get the picture, and then I could give it to my boyfriend. Well, in that span of time, I could go, maybe this is a bad idea. Like, even if I already went through all of the steps, I had time to go, should I be doing this? But you guys don't have that luxury. You take the picture, you push send. And then 20 minutes later, you go, that may be a bad idea. I mean, it doesn't have to be a naked picture. It could be a comment on someone's Instagram post.
No. And then people get canceled for it, you know?
Yes.
Cancel culture is very toxic. And I think it's not only the things people put out, but it's just not thinking before you do something. And social media, it's always very like rapid, you know, like don't think, just post it, you know. But I think that's what we have to notice, that not everything has to be so quick.
Right.
You can take a step back and be like, is this thoughtful? Yeah. Is this correct? Am I getting my information correctly, you know?
Yeah. And then saying what you were saying about like developing that roll of film, that gives you like, that forces you into a state where you have to decide, is this okay? Am I okay with this? Am I going to be okay with it tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah. But when you're taking a picture and then posting it, you don't get that time to decide until after. And that time still does come. Like you still do think, should I have posted that? Should I have not posted that? But it's already too late to change it. Unlike when you had that time to decide. And I think that's kind of affecting kids now.
I think
like
so.
Not only on social media, just in life in general. Is they're so like used to the rapid fire of life that they just like cannot be okay with just sitting and thinking for
sitting
2
in the
seconds.
uncomfortable. Just sit in the uncomfortable and to not have a decision right now. It's hard for me too. I mean, I'm adapting to this way of life too. So I have a hard time sitting with the uncomfortable, much harder than I used to. So it's not just you young people. It's me too, where I go.
It's any iPhone user.
Anybody really who's on social media and is used to instant gratification or instant whatever. it is hard to sit and go, I have to wait.
But the biggest difference I have is just I've met various kids whose parents don't give them a phone or social media until they're like 20 or something.
Wow.
They're like, wait. And you can see the difference so vividly from a person who's had their phone from like a young age and been actively on social media. And there are pros and cons, but it's such a drastic difference.
What's different?
Well, I feel like the kids that are not introduced to social media as early, they're I feel like they're not as anxious. They're not as like, oh, like what do I say? They talk very maturely for some reason, and they kind of don't. I don't want to say like they don't have any friends, but like, but I feel like they don't bond with people as quickly, because I feel like everyone like relates with social media, right? And they're just kind of left out. But in this time, everyone's like, oh, you don't have social media? You're so weird, whatever. But I've kind of stepped back and they're like, well, people that don't have social media, they're actually so much cooler, because instead of being mindlessly on your phone for the whole day, they go outside, they find their interests, they start like a passion project they're really passionate about, and they kind of have more time on their hands, and they don't spend as much time wasting like on their phone or like doing mindless stuff,
Yeah.
And they talk, you can hear the tone in their voice, they talk differently, they have different approaches to things, and it's really like I was very surprised with it, because I've had social media since I was like 11 or 12 or something. And that's even late for some people.
It is late for some kids.
Yeah, like I know some people who got it when they're like 7 or something, or like in 4th grade or something. And those kids have turned out differently than me. So I think social media has such a huge impact on children, kids. Like I see like little kids on TikTok, posting, and TikTok's not that appropriate.
Not always, no.
Nope.
So now if you observe this from kids who don't have social media, does it give you any inclination to limit your own social media and say, I'm taking 2 hours off in the middle of the day every day?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
That's great. Could you please talk to Isla about that? That'd be awesome.
No, we compare our screen times.
Yeah.
You, me, Lou, and Isla. We all compare and see who has I usually have the least.
Yeah.
And then Lou's like, I have 11 hours. I'm like, how?
No, I literally hate being on my phone, but yeah, I'm on it so much.
Yeah.
I've talked to my friends, we're like, what era do you want to be in? They're like, anytime before phones. We all hate the idea of phones because it wastes so much of our time. But yeah, we're on it so much,
because it is the thing to do. Culturally is how you guys connect with each other.
Yeah.
So even though you hate it, it's what's called a necessary evil, right?
Yeah.
You have to have it. You have to have it for a lot of reasons. I was thinking the other day about, like, Georgia hadn't done anything wrong, and I don't even know why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking about what would I do if I had to, like, quote, punish her.
Yeah.
To take her phone away. Well, I can't really do that. She's driving her sister to school. What if her car breaks down? Then I can't really regulate what she does on her phone. Not really, because she's locked me out of her phone. Well, I could take her phone and then reset it all to factory settings and get myself back in there. But that seems ridiculous too, that phone is part of her autonomy.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, you need to have some autonomy. You need to have a part of your life that your parents aren't in, because that's healthy. I'm not saying that you should go and do drugs and drink and have promiscuous activities with boys or girls, but you should have communications that you get to figure out on your own, that don't have to do with your parents, that are private. And obviously not if you're harming yourself or someone else, but that's part of being a healthy teenager, is having autonomy.
Yeah, but I feel like some people that don't have that much guidance, they can utilize that for the worst. You know?
There's a difference. You can tell in kids who their parents, like you and Sandy, have a really good, like a good view on like how to raise a kid. Like as we
that's
see.
very
and
nice
Kathy and
of
Lee,
you.
all of them. But you and Sandy, like just a lot of your approaches at parenting, like even all the camper kids or just the 4 of us or just me and Isla, or Kylie and Lou, like just the way you approach stuff is like really mature and really, really smart and thought out. And then you can tell what parents don't really care about their kids or what parents are way too involved. And the parents that are way too involved, that is a dangerous relationship. That is terrifying.
Why?
It's just like there's a bond between the kid and the parent where they're best friends. So there's like no hierarchy. Like the parent should be above the kid only because they're older and because they know more and because their job is to raise the kid. But sometimes when you get a mom and a daughter or a son and a father, like any parent that is best friends with the kid, there's like no boundaries.
Yeah.
And then like
the child lacks respect, and that's not only for their parents, it's for their teachers, it's for just anyone higher than them. And I think respect is such a big thing. And also especially with social media, everyone's everyone's like cyberbullying people, and there's like people lack so much respect, and I even lack respect. Like I've like taken a step back and be like, wait, why am I talking to someone that's older than me like this? Like, that's not okay, you know?
Right.
I've definitely caught myself doing that. And then I go back and I'm like, oh my God, I want to punch past Georgia because it was so mean. But that's another thing. Social media, like, there's a
very
giant lack of
normalized.
respect.
Yes, it is.
Like, you can comment something on a random account and no one will know who you are. But in real life, you have to respect people around you just to be happy. Like, there's no reason to disrespect anyone. And you can tell what kids were brought up with no value put on respect. And I think you and Sandy and Tom and Dad and everyone has done a really good job teaching us how to respect adults and how to respect our peers. Because I go around and I go, oh, Sandy taught me this. Oh, Mom taught me this. Oh, Dad taught me. Like I go around and I do that. So I think that's a really good thing, that having that group of adults and group of kids, like just in general, that has taught us respect.
Yeah.
Because we know that because there are 8 kids and 8 adults, there's no like one priority for kids, like no one adult that comes into priority, no one kid. So being like one of 8, technically, it just shows you how to respect everyone and how to like work in a giant group. And it's so helpful because you'll see kids who like they were the priority, like the parents respect them, but they don't respect the parent. And you're like, dude, come on, really?
I'll tell you from a parent perspective, it makes it easier. Sometimes I was walking in the yard the other day and one of the boys in the group spoke very disrespectfully to his mother. And I said, don't talk to your mother that way.
Yeah.
And he apologized to me and he apologized to his mother.
Yeah.
And I went, that's how this should work.
Yeah.
I mean, we all should have the same like line in the sand. As adults, you just don't do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, some kids damage some property here and I let the parents know this is a problem, and the kid apologized and came back and the boat was righted because we're all on the same page.
No, I think it's very important to be like disciplined, you know, because you learn from it. And parents who don't really like discipline their child or just like barely discipline them, you can see that they don't really know the consequences of their actions, you know?
And there's a healthy discipline also. Like you should not be screaming at your kid because they did a like level 2 thing wrong. But you should, like, I think most of the camper parents have a very good scope on, okay, this was like a 1 out of 10. So obviously they should get disciplined, but I'm not going to scream at them for 30 minutes. And then when it does go to an extreme, like when it's like more of an 8 of 10, like you guys still can read the situation and discipline us. And discipline is so important because there are some parents that are like, everything is like, I'll take your phone away. And that's not even a big deal. Like, it's like, I'll take your phone away for a week. And then the kid's just going to go, it's only a week and it's only my phone. I'll just steal it back or I'll do the same thing. And there's no good gauge on like, if like a number 1 scenario and a number 10 scenario get me the same consequence, then there's no gauge on respect as well.
That makes sense.
Like I could knock something over and you'd be like, I'll take your phone. Or I could, you know, like sneak out and get drunk with my friends and you take my phone. Then I don't respect you.
Right.
And you don't respect me because you're just taking my phone away.
Right.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And like it also, like I would never sneak out and go behind your back like that because like I respect you as a parent. But if I stopped respecting you as a parent, which will not happen, Mom.
Thank you. I hope not.
If I stopped respecting you as a parent, then that's kind of where like the family like falls apart or like loses trust. And I think that's really important.
Oh, interesting. You guys are pretty smart.
I mean, we are
Really
older
smart. Well,
siblings.
that's a very big compliment that you feel like your parents have some boundaries and discipline you. That's a big compliment because I think we do. And, you know, as a parent, you'll know this one day when you're a parent, you're constantly going, am I on the right path? Was that too hard? Was it not hard enough?
Yeah.
Do I need to push here?
Yeah.
When do I back off? When do I require this and when do I not? It's very hard to be a conscientious parent. Takes a lot of work. And those parents who are enmeshed with their kids, like you're describing, where they're their best friends, I think takes far less work because then you don't ever have to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then the parents, as you said, who don't care about their kids, I'm not sure they don't care. I just think they're just not.
They're out of the loop.
They're maybe just not willing to confront the hard parts of being a parent, which I'm going to tell you this and you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
But here's the way it goes. You know, if you're making a bad grade in school and if you don't make a certain grade, you go to summer school and I get you a tutor and you're still not doing your work. And I try to help you with your homework and you're still not doing your work. And at the end of the day, you got to go to summer school. I'm not getting you out of summer school.
Yeah.
You're going to summer school.
Yeah.
Because
And that goes
that's
back
the
to
way
autonomy.
It works.
Is like that is your responsibility. And as a
Yes.
parent, I'm there to guide you and help you on the right path. But at the end of the day, it is your decision. And if you do have to go to summer school, I'm not part of that decision. And that's your fault. And you have to pay for that consequence. And that's really important in not having the parent like email the school and bail you out of summer school for something you did. Because when you get, I think I've actually talked to your mom about this one time. But when you get farther in life, when you're like a full-grown adult, you need to have that confidence in yourself to be able to do your job, email your boss if there's something wrong, and be that kind of person. Because I'm not going to have you, when I have a job, email my boss. Like, that is so gross.
No,
but
can you imagine?
that would be so weird.
This is George's mom. She's late turning in her journalism piece because she was dog sitting.
And like my friends, like say we're in like a thing of drama, right? They get their mom involved, and
that
then
is
they get
so gross.
all the other moms involved. It's so annoying. Like,
Yeah.
can you just not handle your problems on your own? Like,
Yeah.
why'd you have to get a parent involved? And like sometimes the parent goes to the school, like, and it just escalates the situation so much when it just could be talked out very simply. And it's
Well, the problem with that is the long-term problem, because then you become an adult and you don't know how to do those things. Like what I was talking about earlier, when I knew that I was going to get married to Bert, and all I have for examples are failed marriages.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know how to do that? I was never taught. I was never shown. Now, obviously, that's not a one-to-one comparison, but if you are constantly bailing your child out, your child never learns how to bail themselves out.
Yeah.
So then they don't know how to function in as an adult. Part of being a parent is also understanding when your kid is ready for that autonomy. My two children matured at a different pace. One of them, Georgia, was ready for autonomy at a younger age than Isla. And that doesn't mean Isla is less than, slower, dumber, whatever adjective you want to put to that. It just means that she matured at a different pace.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And it's okay. But I think it's hard for some parents to go, this is not an apples to apples game. So I can't discipline Isla for something she's not matured into being able to handle.
Yeah.
Whereas Georgia, being more mature than being able to handle that thing, I could or should. So it's really, and I think sometimes parents worry that their outside other parents will judge them for the way they parent their kids, so I can't hold my two kids to the exact same standard. I can hold them to the same value system. We don't steal, we don't cheat, we try our best, we eat our vegetables, those things, we don't hit people. That goes across the board for everybody. But I can't say to Isla, why don't you have all A's, when she has real learning disabilities.
Yeah.
For her, doing her best work looks very different than Georgia doing her best work.
No, and parents also like compare people to like other kids that are
They
not
do.
even
That is so
around.
toxic to being
Yeah.
compared to another kid.
It's
as a
unhealthy.
kid.
You should compare your child to herself.
Yeah.
And to say, is she thriving? Is she growing? Is she happy? Does she have meaningful relationships with her peers, even if it's just one kid? She should have at least one peer that she has a meaningful relationship with. How does she communicate with herself, with her peers, with her teachers and Girl Scout troop leaders or coaches or whoever? Those are the barometers I've always tried to look for. And I've always asked myself the question, who are you? And how do I parent you?
Yeah.
Because Georgia needs very different things than Isla. And Lou needs very different things than you. And I wonder sometimes if it's hard to be a child and look at the sibling and go, wait a minute, I could have never gotten away with that. And not being old enough to understand that kids are different and they need different things. It must be very hard. This episode was supposed to be about big sister, little sister. And we've been talking for an hour and haven't even talked about it.
Oops.
So the reason I wanted to have you here was to talk about what it was like to be an older sister
Yeah.
or an older sibling.
Yeah.
You just happen to be a girl.
Sisters.
So you're sisters.
Girl.
So should we talk about that, or should we just keep talking about all this other stuff and do another episode another day about being older sisters? What do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Georgia. You pick. I'm so indecisive.
No, I don't know. I mean, you just kind of transitioned into older siblings.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, well, let's see where we go. I had a
Okay.
feeling we'd be talking about this a lot. So I don't have any siblings.
Lucky.
So I have no perspective on older, younger, no clue. And I always wonder what it's like to be each of you.
You should put like a timestamp in the episode. Be like, if you want to skip everything and just listen to us.
No, I think
siblings.
everything you talked about before this is really invaluable to parents and to kids your age. You know, I get a lot of emails from the people who listen. And when I have the girls on, I get a lot of emails from parents saying, I had my 12-year-old listen to this because she's struggling with social issues at school. And that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So I have a
role
very
models.
interesting kind of broad audience, which I'm really proud of. I thought when I started this podcast, it would be all, you know, women in their 40s and 50s, but that is absolutely not true. I have a lot of young 20-somethings. I have some new moms. I have some grandmas. And I have a lot of men
No.
that listen.
Oh, she
So,
got a broad
okay, so
fan base.
what is the best thing about being the older sibling?
I'm older.
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious.
You say I'd say I get like bossing privilege and I get like front seat privilege. but my parents like Lou sits in the front seat all the time and I'm like,
Bro, that was the biggest argument I had. That was the biggest argument I had because we had to wait. We had to wait for front seat privileges, and then all of a sudden, Isla and Lou get to sit in the front, and we're just like, bro, what?
Yeah, no, I'm
How
like,
is that fair?
I literally call shotgun and then Lou is like, no, but I'm like, this is not an arguable thing. I get front seat privilege. It's just like a thing. Like you can
This
get
is
front
a
seat
hierarchy.
privilege once I start driving. But right now I need to like look at the road.
Oh
and, like,
my
get things-
God, he's like, I need to learn firsthand.
Yeah, I need to learn.
But before we get too deep into this, I'm happy for you to talk about your siblings. But I don't want us to trash. So that was not a trash. That was not a trash at all. But I don't want you to go, Isla sucks, because I'm not interested in
No,
that.
I'm not gonna say Isla sucks.
I'm interested in how it feels for you. And that is how it feels for you. It sucks that you had to wait to have front seat privileges. And now once you have it, you kind of both have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just with all siblings, I feel like we've had to wait for so many things. And then once we get it, our sibling gets it like a little bit after us when we've had to wait for so long. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I do. I can think of an example where that was not true. Both of my girls got their cell phone in 5th grade. And Isla wanted her cell phone before 5th grade.
Yeah.
And I said to her, nope, that is not fair to Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia got her cell phone when she graduated 5th grade because in middle school, I wanted her to have one. And the same goes for you.
That kind of stuff was funny because I would shove it in
That
her
was
face.
funny?
No, because I'd be like, I have my phone. And she's like, that's not fair. And I'd be like, yes, it is. And we'd fight about it. But it was so funny because then she got it in 5th grade. And I was like, now you're part of the club. And she goes, thank you.
All right. So bossing privileges.
Bossing privilege
is a positive.
I don't know what you said about like autonomy in kids. I remember like being a kid and doing my homework by myself.
You're still a kid, by the way.
No, like being a child. And then doing my homework by myself, and then like you always helping Isla with homework. And I would get confused because I could do it by myself. I actually like doing homework by myself, but I would just see it as like you favoriting Isla, like as like a elementary schooler, obviously not like a middle schooler, but like as like an elementary schooler, I would see you with Isla all the time, and I'd be like, oh my god, no one loves me, because like dad was never home, so I was like always by myself. And I would get sad, but then I'd figure out, I'd be like, you know what, I actually don't need help with my homework. I kind of like going in the recliner and reading by myself. Like, I kind of like it, so it's not that bad. I think I'm just jealous. So there was a lot of jealousy as like an older sibling.
Yeah.
Because you would see the younger sibling, and I would get the same amount of help Isla got when I was her age, but I would see it from like an older sibling perspective, and I'd be like, oh, mom loves Isla more. But then I'd grow up and I'd be like, actually, I don't need her help.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're not equal.
Yeah. And then you would say fair is not equal. And then that made sense to me. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. You know? And then you would say fair is not equal. Like that would be your quote. And then you'd apply it to like smaller things so I would understand it. So like Isla would have ice cream in the middle of the day and I'd want ice cream at the end of the day. And Isla's like, can I have ice cream again? And you go like, no, that's too many sweets. Fair is not equal. Everyone gets their own sweet. And then that would help me relate it to you helping Isla with homework because you related it to smaller things. So I was like, oh, you know, as a little kid.
Yes, I understand what you mean. I was very aware of helping Isla and you not needing help. And I think I had many conversations with you about it when you were young, saying, I know how this much must look.
Yeah.
But your sister has a learning disability and really needs my help. And you don't. So how can I balance that on your side? And you always said, I'm okay. There's nothing. But I was always very aware of that. I didn't ever want you to be jealous. So you think jealousy is part of being an older sibling?
Yeah. It definitely plays into the roles because I feel like we're older and with age grows responsibility, you know? So we sometimes have to do more tasks or more chores than the younger sibling, at least for me. And I'm sometimes like, well, why do I have to do all of this, you know? But then as you grow older, you see your little siblings take on the responsibilities you once did. So it's the same thing, but when you're in the moment, it's very easily to be very jealous, you know, and be like, oh, why me? Like, why couldn't I be like a younger sibling, you know?
Yeah.
But an older sibling also has their cons, you know, because you feel like
you're the first kid. You get guinea pigged on anyways, just because you're the first kid. Like, there's no way you're going to parent the first child right. And you kind of learn from the first kid. So like, oh, when this happened with Georgia, she did this. So now I can apply what I learned from Georgia to Isla. Or now I can apply what I learned from Kylie to Lou. And you need to have that first kid and I think it also helped like in campers, like there were a lot of older siblings and a lot of younger siblings.
It's half and half.
So you guys could compare all the older siblings to the younger siblings, not compare in like a bad way, but just like, I don't know. It was only harder being an older sibling because you would experience everything first, which was good and bad. Yeah. So you would experience middle school first, and middle school was trash, but you experienced it first. So there was no one knew what they were doing. And then when Isla and Lou and Sydney and Lily all go and experience middle school, everyone's already done it. So everyone knows how to help them.
Yeah, but I feel like you are kind of like my older sister because my mom, I have a problem or something, and then she asks Leanne, and then you guys kind of talk, and then Georgia shares her experience. So that helps me a lot. But you have no one to look up to. I don't know if there's anyone older.
I was older. No, it's also weird because like in what you were saying, you're my younger sibling. Like it goes like that because like you and Isla are going through like very similar things. And then Lou is like my younger sibling. So I see her and I'm like, that was me 4 years ago. But I remember growing up in Camper Kids, like whenever Sandy needed help with you or Lou, she would text me and be like, what happened when you did this? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like a broader version of an older sibling. Like microcosm is like me and Isla. But like when I say I'm an older sibling, I technically think I'm an older sibling to like 6 other kids beneath me. Yeah. So Max asks me for help all the time.
What do you think that it has taught you being an older sibling?
I think being an older sibling and like not having anyone to like guide you makes you very responsible for your own decisions because you don't really feel like, oh, I have to follow in these people's footsteps. So you are really free to do whatever you want, but sometimes that's a bad thing because you're like, what do I want to do? You know, like what should I be doing right now? And you don't have that much guidance because it really depends on you. So you have to experience everything firsthand.
It also, like, what you're saying is completely right. I mean, you experience everything firsthand, and then it's also hard because, like, for me as like being way older, I'm like 4 years older than Lou, I'm 2 years older than you. I go and do stuff, and sometimes I think like, not obviously in the moment, but when I'm done, sometimes I think this is something I'm going to have to explain to Kylie and Lou and Isla and Lily and Sydney and Carter and Max. Like, I will have to explain this to them. So I kind of want to be a better person for the people that I'm helping. And it's also, it teaches you how to communicate, because I've obviously experienced more than Lou and Isla and you, and just based off of age, I've experienced more. And you and Sandy have obviously experienced way more than we have, but like,
one would hope.
But like, I go through things and I realize that everyone's going to have to go through it after me. So I go through things and I try and process it faster so that I can help Lou and you guys process it better than me, because I don't want anyone, like, I want it to be easier for everyone after me. So I try and like do everything really quickly so I can help everyone when they go through it, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think is hard about being a younger sibling?
I don't know.
What do you think is hard for your sisters?
I think when I go to college.
No. I think it's just the younger siblings looking up to us, being like, why? I feel like because me and my sister differ so much.
Yeah.
It can also set like an unrealistic expectation because we're different people, you know? And sometimes like our parents compare me and my sister together, which is not valid because we're different people, you know? And sometimes I feel like I'm responsible. Like, why am I setting this thing when this doesn't apply to Lily, you know?
Yeah. It's also, you're right. I mean, like, just in general, parents compare kids to each other just because it's two children in the same household. Like, they're going to get compared at some point or another. And it sometimes it's healthy, sometimes it's not. But I think for a younger sibling, it could be harder to look up to your older sister and be like, wow, this is not me. And like, it doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
Like, Isla and I are not the same person.
No.
But I think sometimes it's hard for her to look up and be like, if Georgia turned out like this and I'm turning out like this, what's the difference? And I mean, the person she is an absolutely amazing person. Like, Lou and Isla are amazing people. Like, they're not bad people. They're just going in a different direction than me and Kylie went, which is okay. Kylie went in a different direction than I went. And she's like my younger sister. So I think it's harder for them to look up and be like, and try and want to live up to your older sibling, because Isla would say to me when we were younger, like, oh, I want to be you when I grow up. And I'm like, please no, you don't want to be me when you grow up. But I think it's hard for them to like constantly compare themselves to their older sibling.
So do you think they have a harder time with autonomy?
Yeah, I definitely
like almost like developing themselves, because we had no one to look up to, so we were forced to develop as we are, you know. But the younger sibling, they can see someone and look up to them.
They always have someone to ask. Like, especially Lou. Lou has so many people to ask. Isla has me, and she has you. Isla has people to ask, but we, growing up, I mean, you had me, but I would ask my friends or myself, but I never really asked anyone because I never had anyone older than me. So I was my own older sibling.
Do you think your younger sibling is jealous?
I hope not.
Yeah. I feel like in some aspects, probably, because there's jealousy everywhere. And, you know, I'm jealous of her. So, of course, she should be jealous of me. But
Kylie's like, there's got to be mutual jealousy here.
But I feel like some aspects, also, like, when Lily was, like, younger, I'd like something and she'd also like something. And I'd be like, why do you have to copy me on everything? But I think it's because she wants to be me. Not wants to be me, but wants to be closer and wants to relate, you know? And she sees someone older than her and wants to kind of like follow in their footsteps, you know? And as an older sister, it's sometimes like really annoying, but Looking back at it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Very cute. Well, I think it's nice to see your older sibling succeeding and thriving in their life, and to want that for yourself, and to say, well, if that worked for her, then that should probably work for me too. So I think that's probably some of what happens is if you've got it figured out, then I don't need to figure it out. I can just do exactly what you're doing and I'll have the same results, which is not always true.
Yeah, because that can sometimes be negative because they can live up to unrealistic expectations. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes in their struggle to find out who they are, that might happen. Well, I'll just do what you do, say what you say, wear what you wear, think what you think until I figure out my own thing. Because like you said, you had no one to set an example for you.
Yeah.
And you are a everyday, in your face, in the room next door, complete example of 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
So it would be very hard, I would imagine, to be able to kind of suss out what's your thoughts and what's what you have observed that worked with your older sibling. You know, there's no reason why either of your younger siblings should be mature enough to be able to do that and to say, no, I'm actually robbing this from Kylie and I shouldn't rob this from Kylie. I should have my own. I think that would be very hard to expect from a younger sibling.
For example, I think I was in 7th grade, Lou was in 5th grade, and she was trying to figure out what music she liked. But she only heard my music mostly. So she started listening to my music, right? But then over the years, she kind of took that music as like an inspiration and then kind of developed into hers.
Exactly.
And now she's a raging Lana Del Rey fan.
I know, believe we all know.
Yeah.
But that is a great illustration of, I think, what happens.
Yeah.
So if anybody listening has 2 kids, that's a really clear illustration of what Lou was doing. She was trying to find her path by borrowing yours for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And then she found her own.
Yeah.
So if an older sibling can be patient with a younger sibling and know that they're just trying to figure out who they are, it might be really helpful. I mean, the whole point of my podcast is to help people.
Yeah.
So other people have 2 or more kids who have older and younger siblings. So if someone's listening and they go, oh, this is going on in my house. Oh, I see what this is about.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful if you could even help one older sibling understand their younger sibling a little bit better. I think that would be great. I think,
I would have loved an older sibling.
Yeah.
I didn't like being the oldest. I hated it. I was like, I'm by myself. Because I mean, like I had Max, but like Max never showed up, and he was a dude, and I was like, there's no there's no chick.
Yeah, most of my friends have older siblings.
Yeah.
So I kind of like look at them like, oh, I wish I had an older sibling. But I asked my friends, I'm like, oh, what's your sister do? Or like I asked Georgia, what'd you do? Like with the driving stuff.
Yeah.
I asked Georgia. But Georgia had no one to look up to.
Yeah, I would ask my friends, and my friends didn't even know. And like that's like I would have loved an older sibling, or not even an older sister, just like an older brother, just someone who'd done it before me.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like it's tiring doing everything first because you have like no guidance at all, and then you spend your time guiding other people, and you're just like, this.
Well, don't you think that makes you stronger, wiser, faster?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm glad that I look back at it sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did that first. Like I'm glad I did it first. I'm glad I did this, and I'm happy being the oldest because like. Although I hated it like when I was little or when I was going through like harder parts, at the end of the day I did like being the oldest because I would have the most responsibility. I'd be treated the most maturely. I'd be like I was never treated as like one of the younger kids. I was always treated as an older kid. Like we were always treated as older kids.
Yeah.
Which doesn't like it didn't even matter because like Isla and Kylie are the same age, but Kylie and I got treated as older kids because we were older siblings. And Isla and Lou got grouped together because they were younger siblings. Doesn't matter that they were all the same age.
Yeah, that Kylie and Isla were the same
still got
age.
separated. And
Right.
I would have rather been treated as an older sibling than a younger sibling. I guess it's hard to be looked at by adults as the younger sibling because you're always looked at as the most immature. And then differentiating it between like me, Kylie, Carter, and Max, we're all held to a higher standard because we are older.
Yeah.
But we're not even older like by that much. It's not even by that much, but it's still like
You
were born
mean
first.
in order of siblings.
Yeah,
You're older.
yeah.
Yes. So let me ask you this. What do you think is the most important thing that you give to your younger sister?
My clothes.
That's the most
My
important
jeans.
thing is your
There's
clothes.
one pair of jeans that she keeps
Well,
wearing.
my sister asks me for advice. Like, I'm struggling with this. What happened? So I'm like, oh, I know how this feels. So
Yeah.
it's really almost exciting to share my experience with her. And sometimes her experience isn't like mine, you know? And sometimes I give wrong advice. But it's nice to share what I was feeling. So she knows she's not the only one, you know?
Yeah. It's really that in particular, like Lou and Isla and like all of them ask so many questions, and it's really nice to have personal experience because I know that it makes them feel less alone.
Yeah.
And I'd so much rather make them feel less alone. Like I didn't have anyone, which I don't care, but I would so much rather make people feel like they're on my level. Like if Lou's having a problem at school and I like explain to her what I did, I can like watch her face change.
But do you do that for Isla?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, in the car on our drive to school. That's
Okay.
what that's always like that's what I do with Isla too, is like she's going to the same school I am and she's obviously having a harder experience because she's coming as a freshman and not knowing anyone. But she will ask things about and I will or the school I go to. And she will ask things about school and I will have the answers and I can feel the energy in the car just like shift because I know that I helped her and
That's
I like
great.
helping people and that's one of the parts about being an older sibling that I really do like is like you get that opportunity to help people while it was hard for you in the moment it's over and you can help so that it's not hard for our younger siblings, which I think is like really cool.
Okay.
And
So-
I'm glad we have a relationship with our siblings like that.
Yeah.
I am too.
Because some older siblings and younger siblings like don't talk, and I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah, but it was kind of weird because me and my sister, we'd always have like a pretty good relationship as a kid, like as like really younger kids, but we've never been like very close. But then I think when I was in like 7th grade or something, we became really close just out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa, you know, because I think when you're younger, we were constantly fighting, you know.
Yeah.
But then as we matured, we're like, oh yeah, we're actually pretty similar. So let's
Right.
be friends, you know.
right.
So let's make an agreement.
We have 2 parents in common. Maybe we should get along.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most important gift they give to you?
I mean, I definitely, whenever like the family gets in a fight or something like that, she's always someone I can talk to. Like I can always talk to Isla and we have like an agreement of like, oh, this doesn't leave the car. Like this doesn't leave the room, like whatever. And I think that's really important because like I don't know what I would do if I was an only child. Like
It sucks.
rely on I rely on Isla for almost everything in the house. So because like
in-house?
in the house, like
What is this, a corporation?
no,
Isla
like in the
in-house.
house.
She's
I
my
forgot to
in-house
say
counsel.
the. But like I rely on Isla for a lot, and I rely on you and Lou. Like I rely on all my younger
Do you think
siblings.
Isla knows that you rely on her?
Yes, because I ask her to get me ice cream all the time.
That's not the same.
No, I think she does know. I think because I'll ask her to like come with me places so I can talk to her and I can like watch her get excited and it's like really funny to watch because I'm like, come on, Isla, we have to go. But I rely on her for a lot, and she relies on me, and I think that's really important to have like mutual respect and like mutual like
Reliability.
reliability.
Yeah, and I think I trust my sister like a lot, you know. And I talk to her about topics that I wouldn't talk to my friends, you know, about. And we agree. We're so similar. So we like when we talk, it's like talking to the same person, you know.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah, we literally like we're on the same page, you know, because we were raised the same,
Yeah.
you know. And it's really nice to have just someone to talk to, you know, and trust, like have your full trust on, you know.
Yeah, and then Isla brings up stuff because Isla just works so differently. So I'll have a problem. I'll be like, I have ABCD, like I have a problem. How should I solve it? Because I think I should solve it like this. And she'll be like, oh, did you think about this at all? And I'm like, no, this is why I talked to you about it because I didn't think about that. So I think it's really important because like with friends, you weren't brought up with friends. Like Isla and I were brought up by you and Dad. So Isla and I, like she was saying, have the exact same like morals and stuff like that you and dad have taught us. So it's like talking to like Georgia and a half. Like
Except they have you guys have a different perspective.
yeah, except
That's
we
what
have
you said,
different
yeah.
perspectives.
So you came from the same root.
Yeah, so
But
it's
you have different
easier.
perspective.
So it's easier to talk to Isla because I know I've known her my entire life, or basically my entire life. It's easier to talk to her than it is to like call my friend because she's just there. She's like 2 steps away. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna talk to Isla.
So what is your favorite thing about your younger sister?
Her perception of color.
It's kind of insane, right?
It's so helpful.
Isla has an insane.
Bro, if you're ever
sense
gonna
of color.
choose any color for anything, ask Isla. Not even joking.
Really? Wait, what does she have? Like,
Well, because she has sensory processing disorder, part of the superhero power of that is that they see and process colors and sounds and smells very intensely and a little more kind of like minutely. So like she can see the shift in color that is so slight that I can't even really see it. And then when she'll explain it to me, I'll go, oh yeah, now I see
That's
that.
so cool.
So if you're going to choose a color for something, she's freaking awesome. She does have a great perception of color. But that's your favorite part of Isla?
It's a benefit. Oh, it's so nice.
What's your favorite part of Lou?
I can't really pinpoint. Like, I haven't really thought about it. It's just she's always at her house, and it's just like coming home from like a sleepover.
She does live there.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but you go home and you're like, Lou.
Yeah, and sometimes
She's like a third dog.
yeah, but I kind
She's
of
Coco.
yeah. As much as I hate it, sometimes I come into her room. She's like, Kylie, get out. Kylie, get out. And she pushes me away. But then I bring up something. And then she immediately switches it up. She's like, oh, yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
It's so fun.
Yeah. Because at first I'm like, Lily, give me action. No, get away. I'm so busy. And I'm like,
Isla does
did
the
you hear
same
this?
thing.
And then she's like, oh, no. Wait, what? Really? Yes. I find that really funny and really enjoyable to be around.
That's really funny.
They're fun. Isla and Lou are fun. You know? Like, especially on trips. Like, when we're on trips, Isla and Lou.
Yeah.
are, like,
Isla and Lou like sleep. No, it's me and Isla who sleep
You
together.
and Isla sleep
You and Isla
all
sleep.
day.
You and Isla sleep, and Lou and I wake up,
So
and then we go
early.
back, and you and Isla are like spooning, and we're like, okay. And then Lou and I are like making breakfast with you and Mom. It's also weird. I didn't expect this. I thought you and me would move at the same pace only because we're older, and then Isla and Lou would be the same. But Isla and Kylie move at the same pace, and then Lou and I move at the same pace. So like Leah and Lou.
You mean physically move?
What?
You mean like how you walk and stuff?
No. Just
No?
like
The speed at which you live
yeah, the
life?
speed at which we live life. So like we'll be up with you and Sandy,
Oh, I
and
see.
then or like you and Tom, and then Sandy and Dad will be asleep with Kylie and Isla,
Yeah.
and we're just like, interesting.
That's pretty funny, isn't it? So what do you think your sisters would say is their favorite part about you? Because I'm clearly going to ask them that question. I'm interested to see. What do you think Lou's favorite thing about Kylie is?
Her friends.
Yeah, probably like when my friends come over, like I always include Lily and we like hang out together. Like Lou like tags along, and I think she really enjoys that.
Like that you're inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And my friends like love Lou. Like
Aw.
my friends like talk to Lou. Like they like text her, FaceTime her, and I like that.
That's
And I
cool.
think she enjoys that as well.
That's
because like a lot of my friends, they have really common interests with Lou. Like they listen to the same music and stuff, but I don't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if Lily has something to talk to, like to talk to someone about, and I don't share it, she'd go to my friends, you know, which is nice. So like she kind of like makes friends with mine. So it's not really like a barrier, you know?
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think Isla would say is her favorite part about you, George?
I don't know that I can drive.
You think that's
I don't
you are
know.
so pragmatic that she sees color that I can
No,
drive.
no, I'm
There's
not
no
trying to-
emotion. Don't give me
No.
any emotion.
I don't know. I mean, like, my friends are the same. They love Isla. They feel like Isla's their own younger sibling sometimes.
But Isla doesn't text your friends. She doesn't
No.
have that connection.
No, she doesn't have
So
that
what do you
connection.
think Isla would say is her favorite thing about Georgia?
I honestly
That you can drive?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I have this thing when I make her laugh every single time we get in the car. I'll say something like, "Oh, Isla, can you look out the back window?" And she'll look out the back window, and you know the little window wiper? I make it wave, and she starts peeing her pants laughing. It's so funny because it's like I'm waving to her with the back.
That's cute, Georgia.
So I'll be like, can you just look back there to see if there's a car behind? And it'll be waving. And she goes, Georgia, it's 7 a.m. Why are you doing this? And I'm just like, I'm waving hello to you. And she's like, Georgia. But I guess, I don't know. I guess like I do a lot of like small funny things that catch her off guard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she appreciates. I hope she appreciates it because I do it for her. But I don't know what she would say about me. I don't know.
Well, me and Georgia are like much more extroverted than Isla and Lou. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like Lou and Isla, they're introverts. Me and Georgia were extroverts. Like we took the test.
We took the test.
Yeah. So I think we have a very similar connection. You know.
Yeah.
And like I think me and Georgia, we like go into their rooms and like we like bother them, and even though they hate it, I think
we know they
enjoy
love it.
They do love it. They do love it. Don't stop doing that because they need it. They
I mean, we are really, really extroverted. And then I tell Isla about some of the stuff that happens with my friends. And it's like her watching a TV show. It's like entertainment. She watches me like tell stories about my friends. And she's like, oh my God, then what happened next? And I'm like, okay, I'll keep telling you. But it's fun to like, because you have a bunch of stories too. We tell stories. Like whenever we're together, we tell stories about what happens, and then Isla and Lou have like a list of questions, and we're just like, okay.
Well, here's something to think about next time you barge in their room and they go, just get out. You guys are struggling for autonomy from your parents, but your younger sibling is struggling from autonomy from her parents and from her older sister. So
I don't know why we're cool.
I've read lots of books about raising teenage girls. And one of the things that keeps coming back in almost every book I've read is that that there is a struggle to be your own person, and the enemy of that is mom and dad, because mom and dad are at the end of the day still the boss. I mean, there's the title of one book is something like, I always screw it up, but it's something like, I hate you, get out of my life, now can you drive me to the mall?
Oh my God.
Like that's what a teenage girl's brain goes through, right? So she's got it with mom and dad and with an older sister.
Yeah.
So when you get barraged with get out, just remember that she's got it from two angles. You've just got it from one.
Yeah.
And so to be a little patient and understand where it's coming from might be helpful for you and for her, you know, but for you too, to understand, because half of managing relationships is being able to understand where the other person is coming from. Mm-hmm. And especially if it's someone that you care for and that you know to be a good person who has no malice intended for you. And if you walk in and they're having a bad day, you can say, they're just having a bad day. Yeah. Or if you walk in your sister's room and she throws a vase at your head, you go, she really just wants her autonomy. And I'm pushing in, demanding space in her space. And I wouldn't like that from my parents or whatever. So why would she like that from me? You're just another layer.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is, you guys give so much as older siblings by being the first guinea pig in the family. You know, there's a joke that says, you know, the first kid can't get dirty, and the second kid, you let them eat dirt because you've already been through it with the first kid, and you know they're actually going to be fine if they eat dirt.
Yeah.
But the first kid, you're like, wipe his hands. He don't put his hands in his mouth. Yeah. You know, so you have forged the path that makes life easier for them in a lot of ways. It's a gift for you, but it's a huge gift for them. And the other side of that coin is that they don't feel, I think they struggle with autonomy in a different way than you guys do.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And some parents can't help but compare kid to kid. And sometimes that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's appropriate to say, my kid was doing XYZ at this age. My other kid is not. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes most of the time, I think it is okay. But it's hard to be both siblings. I think there are good and bad about both.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm looking at Lily and I'm hearing her problems. Like, wait, sometimes I have to step back. Like, why are we not the same person? You know?
Yeah.
But also like, well, we are different, but why are we not similar? You know, it's like this whole thing. Like Lily decided to go to the school I was going to, but it didn't work out for her. So now she's transferring. And I was kind of well, I was kind of surprised because I was like, oh, I thought she was going to follow my footsteps, but she's her own person.
Yeah.
And I think older siblings kind of have to realize that. But it comes kind of later to me, at least, because I was like, oh, wow, like this is actually happening. Like, because my little sibling's not me, you know?
She's not you, and there's no reason for you to think differently about your path either.
Yeah.
Like for you to say, well, am I at the wrong school? Not that I'm not saying you do that, but for other people listening, if your younger sibling chooses a different path, it's not a comment on your path.
Yeah.
It's just that their path is very different because they are.
I think it's also kind of hard differentiating like a younger sibling from a person. Like Isla's still a like or no. Okay,
What do you mean?
No,
Like,
I
what
see
you're
that-
saying.
no, you know what I mean? Like I see Isla as my younger sibling, but
but not as her own
but not
person.
as like Isla.
I see.
So it's hard for me sometimes to look at Isla and be like, this is not only my sister. This is also someone I go to school with. This is also just another teenager. Like it's hard to, not that Isla, like I said it really bad in the first place, but like it's hard to look at Isla as anything but my younger sibling. When we were kids in elementary school, I would go home and fight with Isla about Monster High dolls.
Yeah.
Like it's a little hard, but like as you get older, you start realizing I have to see Isla as her own person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to treat her like a younger sibling my entire life.
Yeah, like they have their own story.
Yeah, they're
their
going
own
to go
life.
through their own thing.
Yeah, and
they're not just like a little side character.
Yeah.
They're their main character in their own story.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know this was possible.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe very much in fate, and I'm very faithful as a person. And there's a reason you're the older sibling. You have a role to carry out in your own life and in theirs. And that's the agreement you made with the universe when you came on this planet. Is you said, yes, I will be this person's older sibling. And that's a privilege and a responsibility that's beautiful if you look at it the right way. And I've said this to Georgia a million times. You guys are so very different that when you get to be adults and things level out, you know, like I'm 2 years older than your mom. We're the same age.
Yeah.
But in middle school, 2 years older than your mom would have been a big difference. But now we're the same age. I'm even the same age as Lynn, and Lynn is like 6 years younger than me. But we're all the same age. So once you get up and you're the same age, really, I want for you to value your differences, because it's never healthy to only have your own point of view.
Yeah.
Never. That's never healthy. It doesn't mean your point of view is not right. It just means it's always helpful
It's like
to call
self-centered.
and say, Mom called and said ABC. What do you think about that? And have her go, my perspective is this, and have it affect you.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, even having Kylie, like even having you was so helpful, because I would talk to you about stuff Isla was doing, and you would give me an explanation for why Isla was doing it, and then you'd give me what Lou was doing. And so even though you weren't my older sibling, you were still someone I could go to because you were an older sibling.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though me and Isla are in the same grade, we're technically like Isla's like half a year younger than me.
She
you
is,
know?
Yeah, so she's still kind of like a younger sibling, but they're still in the same grade. So it was helpful having Kylie, and it was helpful having Carter and Max, even though Carter and Max were kind of like tuned out, but it's fine.
Carter and Max were just fine.
Carter and Max
They're
were
boys.
fine. We
and
also
they're on
didn't hang
different
out with
path,
them as
and they
much.
mature differently.
Yeah.
No bagging on boys. They're just different.
They're just-
and
they're just
something
Carter and
about
Max.
Isla that I think is really interesting to know too at your age. You're right. She was 6 months younger than you, and she's 6 months younger than Lily. So as a mom, Lily Fromkin.
Yeah.
So as a mom, I would watch you guys mature, and I would see you and Lily Fromkin say, stop playing with dolls. And Isla's not ready.
Yeah.
She still
Yeah.
wants to play with dolls. So how do you think that made her feel? She's
Yeah.
behind you, but you're in the same grade.
Yeah.
You
she
and
probably
Isla
feels, like
were-
singled out, you know?
She would feel awkward. She would feel like something was wrong with
Yeah.
her when there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
her. She's
it's
just 6
literally
months
just age,
behind.
yeah.
developmentally. And I think that has been really hard for Isla in particular going through middle school.
Yeah.
Is to see everybody's like 6 months ahead of her. So she's not ready to be into music yet.
She's also been
not-
forced into a younger sibling group.
Well,
Like,
she is,
you know,
yeah.
because like Lily Fromkin was a younger sibling, but she was older than Isla.
Yes.
So it's been hard to watch like Isla be younger because I know she's like, or no, I'm wording this really wrong, but like she would relate more to Lou.
Yeah.
And I would
Yes.
be, and that was fine. Like I didn't care, but she would relate more to Lou. And I think like sometimes she didn't want to always relate more to Lou, but as little kids, I would like, for some reason, I think it was because I was hanging out with Hayslip so much, I would put her and Lou in the same group and then me and Kylie in the same group, only because we were older siblings and younger siblings.
Yeah.
But I think that like now I'm starting to like kind of separate everyone into their own person now that I'm older. Now I see them as like Lou, Sydney, Isla, Lou.
That must have been hard for Isla because
Yeah.
Isla and Kylie were like best friends all through till 5th grade.
Yeah.
That was so fun to watch.
So all of a sudden for that dynamic to shift and have it be shifted away from Isla and Kylie and it be going to Kylie and Georgia, I wonder what that was like for Isla. I wonder if that made her feel like she didn't have a place.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if that made her feel like I'm now being forced to be younger than I actually am. I have no idea. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it did to her in the dynamic because originally the dynamic really was Georgia and Lou and Kylie and
Weirdest
Isla.
dynamic
so
ever.
then when that dynamic separated, I wonder what that did to Isla. I'm really curious. If it did anything, maybe it did nothing at all.
I mean, Lou and
But-
I are still besties though.
I know. Well,
Lou
you
and I are
floated from
tight.
place to place, but you know, Isla
Because I'm an
has
extrovert.
Isla has I think struggled a little bit to figure out where she fits in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like I have some friends that are in my same grade, but they already have their license, not
Right.
even their permit license.
Right.
So I think me and Isla were really close, and then I went to London, and looking back at it, I was friends with people that were 6 months older than me.
right.
So that kind of jumped, and I feel like there was a big gap
Yeah.
between me and Isla, and that's what made us drift because
Yeah.
we weren't on the same page. I don't want to I want to say
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like, there's
we
nothing
had-
wrong with
yeah.
either page.
Yeah, we had like we just got so different.
You just
Yeah.
had
you know?
different life
did.
experiences.
Totally.
Like living in London was so different than living in LA.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with any
Well,
of that.
obviously,
Yeah.
There's
obviously
nothing wrong with the drift.
It was just an experience that
nothing
happened.
wrong with any of it. Totally. And you shouldn't do anything differently than exactly what you did.
Yeah.
And same with Isla.
I wanna
You
live
can't
in
force
London.
her to mature early. You know, you can't
Yeah.
force her to be 6 months older than she is developmentally.
Yeah.
That's not healthy either.
And I mean,
So-
Kylie and Isla as best friends was so entertaining for me and Lou.
They were adorable.
Because you guys were like unstoppable, and Lou and I would be like, okay. You guys would get into so much trouble. You
Yeah,
and Isla.
literally.
You and Isla, and then me and Lou would just
You guys
sit
had
back
a
and
lot
be
of
like,
fun. You were always smiling and laughing. There's so many pictures
so
of you guys
funny.
together where you're always smiling and laughing. It was really
you and
cool.
Isla went into a dwarf house? I remember that.
I
There's
remember
a
that
picture.
too
There's a
in
picture of that on our.
This is
thing.
one memory I vividly remember. I was like, Kylie, you have lice. And I was like, no, I don't. So I slapped her. And she told our first grade teacher, and then we didn't talk for like the rest of the day. And then we returned and we were fine. But it's like the little things that I remember.
How
and it's
funny.
So
Yeah, I
fun.
But did you actually have lice? Because I remember spending almost a full day
yeah,
picking lice off your
that
head.
that was after you guys picked lice, and Isla was there, so she was like, "I'm an expert on lice."
Oh,
So we were
I
sitting
can
at the
hear her
lunch table,
saying that.
and she was like, "Kylie, you have lice," and I was like, "I do not." And then I got so mad.
Oh,
that
yeah, I
slapped
would have
her.
been mad too.
You guys were sassy to each other.
Yeah, we were.
So
No,
funny.
we have this like what we have like these videos, and we're like, "Hi, welcome back." They're
on my iPad. I still have
and we
seen
like
these
and we
videos.
like do makeup together. It's
Bro,
so fun.
that would happen in the bathroom, and me and Lou would have to pee so bad. And the only other bathroom in our house was the secret potty.
The secret
in the
potty.
back. And Lou and I were scared back there because it smelled really weird. And so we would have to, okay, so here's what would happen. You and Isla would have your pigtails and your makeup in the bathroom, and you'd be filming this, hi, we're the good girls video. And then Lou and I would be sitting in our room like, we have to pee. And they're just sitting in there doing their makeup. So we would knock on the door, and you and Isla would scream at podcast. You'd be like, we're in the middle of filming. Now we have to restart. And then Lou and I would have to walk to the secret potty all the way in the back of the house and stand there in this one like small little bathroom with each other to go pee.
Oh,
so we would switch off going pee because we were scared.
She's so little too, that little Lou.
Yes.
She's the cutest thing ever.
She was itty bitty.
I remember so many times you guys would all go swimming at your house and all 4 of you would be in the bathtub. All 4
yeah.
Or you'd rotate in and out of the shower. In and out.
I remember
In and
that
out.
photo of
In and
that.
out. They have lots of photos.
There were
4 of
so
you
many
in the
times that
bathtub.
happened. And then, we had at one point we had 6 of us because Sydney and Lily got in there too. You remember that?
Yeah.
There was a bunch of times where it was like, in the shower too. We would
In the
go
shower in the back house,
and then
you
they
go
would
in
go
and
in the
out, in and out,
bathtub
in and out, in and
your
out.
mom's room.
We've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of fun. It's been so much fun for me as a
And
parent
it's still going on.
to watch all 8 of you guys grow up and to have such great relationships with the parents. I think what we have is actually really special. I don't think it's normal. I think it is
Obviously.
abnormal in a very special way.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys feel it now, but I think when you get to be an adult, you will really look back and go, that was really kind of amazing.
It was really fun.
that we had these 4
that
families.
swing at your old house that
Please.
your dad
Oh
made.
my God, and he ripped
that-
his shoulder open.
Yes. It was so
No, but
intense.
it's really interesting to see how we're all kids, right? Playing the same games. And then we all matured and we all have our different interests now.
Yep.
We're all so different. We
Yeah.
all dress differently, look differently, believe different things, but yet we're still like all friends despite all of our differences, which
We're
is
all
really crazy.
similar at the core, but
Yeah.
we all
The
like,
value
have
system.
Yeah, and that
different-
differs from like my school friends because my school friends were all very alike. We all have the same things. But here, with like this friend group of families, we're almost kind of like forced to be friends. But then, like as the years go by, we still are so close,
Yeah.
even though we're all so different, and we haven't drifted at all. I feel like,
Yeah,
which is
like
really
we
good.
celebrate like holidays together.
Yeah.
And like that's not normal. Cause like
Yeah, we spend New Year's, maybe
Chinese New Year's.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve
Yeah.
we spend together and that's normal and I would have it like no other way.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
I,
special.
I absolutely love having no plans, but my plans are going to Sandy's house.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of my favorite things because my friends will be like, oh, I'm just like hanging out at home. And some of my friends like hate their like their long distance or not long distance, like their out like what's it called? Like not your outer family.
Family friend.
Extended family, like some
Thank you, Alston.
outer
Extended family.
Like some people hate their extended family, and then I say, like, I was at my friend's house yesterday, and I talk about, I had to like cancel with her a bunch because I've been like hanging out with campers, and she's like, "What's it like having cousins like that?" And I'm like, dude, it's so fun. Like I would so much rather have
Yeah.
these people. And she's like, she doesn't have any cousins. She's like, I'm just with my sister all day. Like I wish I had cousins. I hear you talk about all the things you would do there and it sounds so fun. And I'm like, bro, it is fun. It
Yeah.
is nice.
That's
It's so
cool.
funny. I get to hang out with
No,
Coco.
also like during the pandemic, we weren't really allowed to see any of our like school friends or anything, but we were allowed to see you guys. And
Yeah,
that was
that was
really
funny.
nice getting out of the house
Yeah.
and experience. And even though we didn't really want to hang out because we were all kind of like in our like keepsake quarantine
Bubbles, yeah.
Yeah.
our parents forced us to, and that really helped.
It
like
did.
a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
It did. We did a lot of socially distanced, safe. Like remember we had pizza night and game night where we were across the yard from each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And even though we were like
Own
screaming
pods.
at each
I
other,
know.
That was so fun.
But it was really necessary, and we all
Yeah.
agreed to kind of keep each other safe.
And then Dad was on his own little throne. Remember that when
Yeah,
we put him in a
remember that.
chair, the other side of the room, we would throw stuff at him.
That
Like, we'd
was in
throw
the very
drinks at
beginning
him.
of quarantine. He came home from being on the road where they canceled his show,
Yeah.
and we were all in a bubble, and he sat off to the side.
And he was like,
one
"I'm
would get
having no
infected."
fun. I'm
That was
in
in
the
the very
corner.
beginning when we weren't sure how
Nobody
quarantine
liked that
should
because
be.
everyone would get him
Everyone-
stuff.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
would
Oh,
have
yeah.
to pay attention to him.
yeah, yeah,
I remember that. But it was, I like, when I don't know, I think it was so cool. And I love like hearing the word Rumiku and thinking of Sandy betting
Sandy's
money.
a hoot.
Please.
We play for money. We play for money. That's what she says.
No, she's like, no money involved. Okay, no.
We play for money.
Okay, I'm
Where's
not
your
playing.
money? She's so fun. I think we have a really fun group of people, and And I'm glad you have that insight. I really am. I think it's special. I think you should let each other know how you feel. You know,
We do.
Well, we
try
went
to.
around one time and said a compliment.
That was
about
terrible.
everyone.
nice.
It was very.
It was hard.
It was hard because it's almost like a sibling. How you ask, "What's one thing you like about your sibling?" It was hard, but like I felt kind of like it was really nice to see what everyone said.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like
It was yeah, you're right. It was really hard because we all know that we really love each other.
Yeah.
but
And
it's kind of
so
hard
when
to, like,
you
pinpoint
when
one.
you say
Yeah.
like give me a compliment, you're just like I don't know.
But you also
Thank you
kind of,
for
like-
being you.
But you also kind of like cringe because we're so close. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
really want to
like-
compliment you, but
Right.
like I love you. Like, but you know.
Yeah, like we say the only time like it's also weird because we don't ever say I love you. We're just like bye guys.
No, we're just like bye.
Because we know we're gonna see you like the next day. So it's hard because we're so close that we've like passed the point of like I guess like normal friend relationships. So we're like siblings now.
No, we're like very comfortable in our own.
Yeah.
skin.
It's
I
kinda
talked to you.
scary.
But
No,
do you
it's-
feel like the whole camper group feels that way?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
don't-
so.
Do you feel like there are a few people in the group that maybe don't feel that way? Not that they don't
hope
feel like
not.
you guys are special and you're a family, but
Yeah, I
don't
hope
feel
not.
comfortable in their skin or comfortable in the group.
Because me and Georgia have like very intense personalities.
Yeah, we're alpha males.
and some people I feel like get harmed by that, and that's not our intention, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been at that place where people are like very intimidating, very like strong,
Yeah.
bring it all, and you're like, what?
I mean, like Lou and Isla and Lily have all said to me and you, they literally say that this combination scares people.
Yeah.
Like we will be sitting at a party, like we'll be sitting at a party. I joke about it so much, and we will just like have the exact same thoughts going through our brain, and then talk about it for 30 seconds. And Lou's looking at us like we're holding weapons.
No, or like
it's
we go to like bar mitzvahs, me and Georgia are like, okay, let's dance, and when we bring everyone on like
Yeah.
the dance floor and
Yeah.
like encourage them to dance, you know,
because we're just really like strong personalities, and I think
It's sometimes
sometimes
scary.
I think it's sometimes scary, and I can understand why it's scary because Kylie and I as a whole, it's like as a group of two people, I can understand why that can like freak someone out because we're really
well,
extroverted.
do you feel? I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do you
Yeah.
feel like it takes up all the air in the room, so to speak, and it doesn't give other people the space to maybe timidly step forward? I'm just asking. I'm totally playing devil's advocate because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not in
yeah.
this group.
Well,
of
I
kids.
think we used to do that, but then people brought it to our attention. Like, hey, like I kind of want to have a place in the conversation, you know?
Ah,
So then me and Georgia
okay.
were like, oh, okay. So we started asking more questions.
Oh,
started-
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were because
Because we'd hear stuff and like,
yeah, we'd hear. No one would even bring it up to us. They'd bring it up to like Lou or Isla, and Lou and
Yeah.
Isla would tell us,
Mm.
and then we'd be like, okay, whatever. And like, we did start being more inclusive. It was also a thing with age. Like when we were little, we were in middle school and they were still in elementary school, so there was just
No,
like
you're 2 years older than Kylie. So there's
No,
four
no,
people
no,
in the
no,
group
no.
that
I'm
are
saying,
actually
like-
Kylie's age.
No.
So I don't know
Bro,
that's
not what
exactly
I'm saying.
what
I mean, like
bro.
Lou and Sydney were in elementary school, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
And like
the two youngest were not
No.
in middle or high.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
so like it was weird like that.
Got it.
I don't know. It was
Too big of an age gap.
Yeah, it was like a weird thing with age and
Age is a real thing. It's not
Especially as kids.
imaginary. There's 4 years difference between you and Max and Lou and Sydney.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. The 2 years between the
Max is going to prom today.
I know Max is
Please.
going to prom today, which
Really?
reminds me, I've got to go pick up Isla. So we have to wrap up.
Kylie
Did you
was-
learn anything from this conversation?
yeah.
Yeah, Kylie
You
and I are
did?
smart.
What'd you learn?
I don't know. I always learn.
No, because you brought up topics that I didn't really think about ever.
Yeah, that I had
it was-
opinions on, but I've never like.
Expressed it.
Yeah.
Like I think it's different when you think of it, but then actually express it, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's also
actually talk
different
it.
because the only time you and I have ever been in a conversation like this, we get yelled at by Bert Kreischer.
Oh.
But like anytime
Well,
we
that's because
have.
Bert Kreischer wants
just
to
a
be
big
completely
personality.
in the conversation
Yeah.
instead of listening to the
Yeah,
conversation.
so like we've had these conversations, but like it's not normal that it's in an environment where there aren't 16 people in a room. You know,
That is true.
Yeah.
And
That's also kinda hard to
just
have a
like you guys
conversation
are
with.
big personalities, there's one or two of those in the adult group.
Yeah.
one or
also.
two isn't
No, and sometimes they like clash.
Yes,
and
Yeah.
they do.
It's scary.
it's entertainment.
It can
at
be
least.
loud.
Yeah.
It can be
So
loud.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard like that. It's also, I can understand why that's hard establishing like independence and being insecure. I can completely understand how that can come out of being in a group of people that just yell for fun.
Well, Bert Kreischer's a loud fella.
Yeah.
And there
He's
are
loud
people
and
in the
he's
adult
big.
group that don't talk a lot when he's around because you can't get a word in. He takes up the air in the room.
Yeah.
So a few of the adults end up not speaking as much as they would when he's not there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't not want him to be there or not be who he is. The only thing I would say is maybe sometimes he should let a little more air in the room so somebody else can say something, because he's very opinionated and very articulate in expressing his opinion. And he's not the only one. So once all these articulate, opinionated, loud people start talking, the 2 or 3 adults who aren't as loud just don't talk.
Yeah.
And that's, I want to hear what they have to say too.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one that goes, but what does she say? And I have to stop them and let her
Yeah.
say what it is she wants to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
So it is hard. It's hard because it's hard for Bert to regulate himself. And I understand that. He's a very passionate guy. But I'm curious to know what the quietest of the group thinks, because usually the quiet one is the deep thinker.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not always positive, and sometimes you don't agree with it. But I'm always interested in what the quiet one
Yeah,
has to say.
yeah, because I feel like I have like a really bold personality.
You do.
And sometimes it's too much. And I really appreciate people saying like, hey, Kylie, this is too much. Tone it down, Like,
Well, you should
or,
never
like-
feel like you're too much.
No, not like
Because
too
you're
much or
not
like
too much.
over the top, or like I say something that's very like offensive and some people like get hurt by it,
I've never seen you behave in a way that's offensive.
No, I'm just very honest with people.
Yes,
and
you are.
And I don't realize it, and it hurts people's feelings. So if someone says, Kylie, you hurt my feelings, I will take a step back and apologize. You know?
Right, yeah. Well, the thing about having a big personality, I've had one my whole life. I used to be told I was very intimidating because
apparently
I was
I'm
very
too aggressive.
honest, and I was very aggressive as who I was as a person, and I had no apologies for who I was. It is intimidating for some people who just don't feel that strongly about something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still have an opinion, but don't feel that strongly,
Yeah.
or aren't as secure in arguing their points or their point of view. And there's a place for that too. I had to learn to read the room.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, in
Read
our
the
group,
room.
you have to definitely read the room. I
You
mean,
have to
Kylie's
read
very
the room.
honest, and that's a very good quality to have. Like, Kylie is
is.
very honest, and I'm very aggressive.
There's nothing
and
wrong
that
with that.
combination is terrifying because
Well.
it doesn't. Okay, it's not a bad thing. I'm not aggressive. I'm just like loud.
No, it's not a
And-
bad
and
thing. But
it's not
you
a bad
do
thing,
have to read the room.
But you do have to read the room, and sometimes if like maybe being too aggressive is not what should be happening, or being too honest is not what should be happening in that situation in general, people do say, hey, like, this is not what we need. And Kylie and I go, oh, my bad, sorry.
No, Georgia calls me out on it 'cause she's not afraid to, and I really appreciate
Yeah.
that, you know?
And then we check each other. We're like, hey, yo,
Yeah, or
stop.
like if I'm like being like kind of mean to Lou, George's like, hey, Kylie, that's not nice. Because if Lou's like, Kylie, you're being mean to me, you're my younger sibling.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we always fight, you know, so I don't
Yeah.
really think much of it. But if Georgia says something, or Isla, like, hey, come on, like, tone it down, I'll be like, oh, okay.
It's kind of nice to have that too, because
Yeah.
you get used to like your younger sibling being like, stop. So like, but then having 2 other people who you kind of view as like a closer level. Like, I view Kylie and Lou like very, like, I think of them very highly. So then when I hear them say something, I'm like, okay, then I am being a little, and I mean, I do listen. It's not like I completely ignore what Isla has to say, but
but you take it.
but
you
I-
take for granted the thing that's closest to you.
But like if
That's
I
very
hear
normal.
Kylie say something like, hey, Georgia, this is actually whatever, I'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's good to have that, because then it's like, I don't know, it's just helpful.
Yeah,
you know?
because I don't want it to escalate so much where I feel like the other person is really like hurt by it. you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
That's what I want to like.
Yeah,
So I really
and-
appreciate people calling me out on.
Yeah,
my
and I mean,
faults.
it's not even
Right.
calling out like being mean. It's not being like, hey, it's just like giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
And I mean, no one's doing it to be mean. Like, no one's giving you a heads up to be mean. We're just doing it because we're just like, hey, like just pause, and then you're like, okay, then you get back to normal.
Yeah.
So do you think it would be scary for someone to say, hey, this is too much?
I mean, maybe, because I don't know if I hope it might be scary only because like I'm the oldest. So like,
Or what do you think they think something like, if I say, hey, this is too much, they're going to attack me? I have no idea.
I mean, that's not something that I would completely rule out of what's happening.
So the reason I'm asking these questions is if people are listening and they have a kid who has a friend who may be very intense, then if they know from your point of view, you're not going to attack them if they say, hey, this is too much.
I mean,
that
everything
might make them braver.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong. Honey, I've been you my whole life. I know exactly what it's like to be you. I've always been honest and outspoken. I mean, my mom used to say, if you don't want the truth, don't ask Leanne.
Yeah.
Because she will tell you the truth.
Kylie will tell you the
harsh. And so I am that person. So I'm not saying, I don't know how to be any different.
Yeah.
So, and part of that is my responsibility. And part of it is the other person's responsibility to say, I don't need this happens with Bert a lot. Bert will say, I don't need the truth right now. I just need you to hear me.
Yeah.
And I'll go, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
I'm just going to shut up and listen.
yeah.
And
I've
that's
had
what
a
he
friend who like brought me into like a separate room. It's like, hey, you've been doing this to me, and I don't appreciate it.
Oh, that's nice.
And I was like, oh, like I'd never realized this.
Totally.
You know? Like it kind of takes you by surprise. Like, oh, okay. Thank you for telling me. This.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
There's also
it made us both feel so much better, you know?
Totally, because half the time, I don't know I'm hurting somebody's feelings. If I'm just being honest, I have no idea because I'm a fire hoser.
I mean, it's
by
also
nature.
hard for, I guess, for a younger sibling to see your older sibling and correct them because, like we were saying earlier, they are brought up like not beneath us, but they're brought up as like 2 years younger or 4 years younger. So it's kind of hard to go up to someone that you look up to and want to be like, and I'd say, hey, you're doing this wrong and it's hurting my feelings, because it's hard to say that to someone you look up to, like a role model.
Yeah.
So I can completely understand why it's scary. And
I can see that too. And you know what's interesting is, can you apply that to people who are not your siblings? Like, can you say your friend Ava is a younger sibling? So might she have that in her automatically? Not because of you, but because of her dynamic at home.
Yeah.
She's a younger sibling, so it may be harder for her. I mean, I don't know Ava. I'm just using Ava as an example because I know she has an older sister. I'm not saying this is Ava, but someone who has an older sister, it might be harder for them to express their opinion or stand up for themselves or put a boundary just because that's the dynamic they live with at home. I think it's really important when you go out in the world to consider those factors in your relationships.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm married to the oldest son.
oh God,
That makes him uber important in the world. Right? So then when I'm dealing with him, I have to know that somewhere inside, like deep down bred into him, he's pretty much the king.
Yeah, I
So
mean that comes
then
into
I
play
have
in
to
like friend
address him.
groups.
That's my point.
Like you'll
That's my
see the
point.
people in friend groups. Like I don't know why, but in every friend group I've ever been in, I'm usually like making decisions, and I think that's because in
You're
Camper
oldest.
Kids I was making decisions
You're the
only
oldest.
because I was the oldest.
Right.
And I think like everyone else who's like making the bigger decisions in groups is an older kid, like is an older sibling. It might not be by much, but there's still the older sibling. And then there's some people in friend groups who don't maybe bring up what's going on with them and what's wrong, and they tend to be only children or younger siblings or like middle kids.
Right.
And that has to be hard.
Isn't that fascinating? And as this is, again, the agreement you made with the universe when you came in to be an older kid and to be who you are, is part of your, quote, job, I believe, is to help those people to believe in themselves more, maybe, and to be more outspoken and to be a good example for them, and make it a safe place, right? To say, hey, can we talk about something? It's really a good thing for older siblings to do. I think is to be aware that it's not as easy for others. But we have got to wrap this up. Because I've got to go get
Hey, were you like your best 2 podcast guests?
Yeah.
I mean,
we're super talkative.
I don't even know if you breathed. You just talked the whole time. It was kind of amazing.
I got 3 phone
we
calls.
should do a monthly checkup or something. You got what?
3 phone calls.
You did?
Yes.
From who?
Yeah,
I'm not revealing my sources.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just an extrovert, as we were saying.
Well, I think this was an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it was really nice.
Was it
fun.
good?
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I loved it. We should do it again and then to figure out a topic we can talk about.
yeah.
Because
Because we talked about like 30 different things.
Yeah.
we did. This is called the schizophrenic episode.
Please.
The episode that has too many topics to label.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if we dove into the big sister, little sister enough. What do you think? Did we?
I think we did.
Because in the beginning, we also tied some values into that
Yeah,
as
totally
well.
did.
Yeah, we like in the beginning we talked about like camper family.
Yeah.
So I think that went
did
along
it.
with it.
Okay.
But you can have us back with another topic.
Okay. We'll do that. We'll do it again.
This is fun.
Thank you, ladies. Thank
Yeah.
you. I love you both.
Love you too,
You're sweet,
Leanne.
special girls, and I'm very proud of both of you, of who you are, and I can't wait to see who you become. It's going to be amazing.
Kylie's gonna be a person who judges people.
You guys always bring that up. I don't recall.
It was
saying-
It was really funny,
this
Kylie.
is- you know, one of my favorite things about you is that you don't realize how naturally funny you are when
Kylie's
you
a
don't even mean to be
comedian.
funny. That was one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and you were just being serious. It was so adorable.
It's so
And
cute.
you've been that way your whole life, where you've said something and we're like, Bert and I'll look at each other and go, I don't think she understands what she just said. That was hysterical. Yeah, I can't wait to see who you guys become. All 8 camper kids. It's going to be really cool to
Imagine
watch.
all 8 camper kids start campers again, and we all have kids, and we all raise them as
Please.
8 parents.
That would be crazy.
How
wouldn't it?
terrifying would that be?
And then you could just drop any kid with any camper grandparent. You'd have 8 grandparents on one side.
basically, oh my god! Because in all honesty, that'll probably happen.
I would
We will all. I think campers is gonna be like something that happens like way past when we have kids.
Well, I hope you create your own group of campers, and it can include the camper kids.
Yeah.
But it's been a real gift to have these 4 families.
Oh, it's fun.
It's been a real gift. You guys are a real gift to me.
Aw.
Love you both.
Thank you, Mo. Love you.